Since the start of the current pandemic and all the rest of it, I've been doing the radio programmes. I'm speaking to talented entertainers and singers from Ireland, and my next guest is a gentleman of true renown, a master craftsman at songwriting, singing and performing, has been for many years. I'm delighted to say special hello to J Murrihy. PJ, how are you?
I'm very well, Jerry. Thank you very much indeed.
PJ, I was just going to say, well done on all your success.
Look, it's been good so far, and please God, it won't end here. That's it. As you know, we all know there's a bit of a slowdown, but we're all hoping to pick up again. I'm sure it will, of course.
Indeed,
yeah.
Indeed. Just
it's
a blip, a little blip along the way. You've had
exactly something we didn't expect, but look, we'll get over it.
Indeed. You as well as the music, I'm sure you also do some farming. So I assume you're quite busy doing that.
Well, I'm doing a bit. I'm living in a place called outside the village of Mullack in West Clare, and back near the ocean, 2 miles from the ocean. Actually, I have some land that I inherited. I lived there with my family, and it has kept me very busy during the lull in the playing, because of course we're not playing at the minute, but the weather cleared up very, very well, and I was able to go out every day and be doing little bits here and there, and it was great.
Excellent.
So I don't feel bored or anything like it. I'm anything but bored, Jerry.
Indeed. When you're never bored when you're doing farming.
Well, no, and I can also come in and play a tune if you know what I mean, or write a song or attempt to write something. But I do find that at the minute it's hard to get into the singing or the writing mold, if you like, you know. But please God, that will come back as well, you know.
Indeed. I mean, you've written a huge amount of material over the years.
Well, I've done a bit now, and I've been lucky as well with it, you know. I've written for a lot of people like Kathy Durkin and Michael English and the late Larry Cunningham, the late Big Tom and Margot and Daniel and Foster and Allen and Patrick Feeney and Patrick O'Sullivan and people like that, and it's great.
Indeed.
Declan Ernie, I suppose. Yeah, Declan Ernie.
There's just so many.
I can't complain.
Indeed.
Yeah, there's quite a few of them now. They're starting to mount up a little bit, which is great.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting, actually, from your versions of the songs. It's quite interesting the difference in arrangement and in style some of the other singers do on it.
Well, that's very true. You know, I often said that songs are like children you rear. You rear them and then you let them off. And whatever happens after that, you have no control, I suppose. Songs are a bit like that. And but it's interesting to know the way people interpret them, you know.
Indeed.
And so far, I've been very, very happy with the way people interpret my songs. Yeah.
Indeed, yes. I mean,
I have indeed.
I mean, for example, one of the ones is the music in County Clare, which Declan Ernie did his own unique style.
That's right now.
Patrick Feeney also did Soldier On.
Yes.
Completely different version.
And T.R. Dallas would be another man that I would have written for. And look, there are more people that Seamus Moore, of course, and people like that, Johnny Carroll, and look, it goes on, but it's great, Jerry. And you know, you've been playing my stuff an awful lot on your radio station, which is fabulous. And I was on for 3 hours there recently, and I got any amount of phone calls about it, even while I was on.
Right.
So you have a huge listenership, I'm glad to say.
Thank you indeed, PJ. Thank you. Yes, good.
And thanks very much for having me on. It makes a huge difference. Because, you know, when we make CDs and record songs, they're recorded to be played. And if they're not played, it can be, you know, but it's the icing on the cake when people like yourself play them. So it's great, Jerry.
Thank you indeed, PJ. Appreciate
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it for that. It's I mean, you certainly have mastered. You've mastered the true art of songwriting. I mean, from the incredible album "I Won't Up the Ante" and "Life in the Old Dog Yet," which was absolutely huge.
Yes.
Huge.
Well, yeah, it kind of took me by surprise. So did "Drawn Little Men in the Ashes."
Yes.
And the one about the soldier on the pig. They kind of know. I knew they were okay songs, but I wasn't sure, of course, what was going to happen when you let them off. But they pleasantly surprised me, I have to say.
Right.
And they're still going very, very well indeed.
Oh, yes. I mean, songs like that will, really will never die. I mean, they're absolute classics. There's no question.
Indeed, Foster and Allen have done The Soldier On as well for their next album, as far as I know. I've heard it, actually. A great version of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They possibly, their own stamp on that particular one.
Oh, yeah, well, Mick Foster would be, they'd suit, a bit humoursome, they'd suit Mick Foster down to the ground. I've written a few songs for Tony Allen as well, but I've also done, of course, We Owe It All to You and Mrs. Brown's Boys, and they've done my stuff as well, Foster and Allen, and done a great job on it, actually.
Indeed. That Mrs. Brown's Boys was actually very successful for them.
Well, yeah, you see, the difference between Foster and Allen and other acts are Foster and Allen are very much international. So when you're writing a song for Foster and Allen, you have to keep Australia and South Africa and New Zealand and Scotland and England, in mind as well, because it's not just Ireland for Foster and Allen.
Indeed.
And the same with Daniel O'Donnell. Now, Daniel recorded one of my songs called I'm Grateful, and he rang me one day in particular to tell me that it was doing great in Bronson, which I was delighted to hear. And, you have to keep in mind the audience that these people have. So that's what I do to the best of my ability. Sometimes it works, Jerry, and sometimes it doesn't. I scrap it. But look, so far so good now.
Indeed so. That song, I'm Grateful, was actually also recorded. The late Big Tom recorded it.
He did indeed. And Paddy O'Brien recorded it.
Yes.
And Michael Collins recorded it. And several other people have recorded it now, which is great.
Indeed.
Because it's the measure of a song when other people pick it up,
Indeed so. It's interesting you should actually say that, because sometimes back in time, I remember people were not impressed when somebody else actually recorded one of their songs. But I really think it's a great tribute to any songwriter.
Well, of course, it's an honour. Now, the reason I think, going back that you mentioned, what you mentioned there, I think the reason for that was that the people who recorded the songs they didn't write the songs. So then if you don't write a song, you see, but it's if you write the song, the more people who record it, the better.
Indeed so.
I think there's, yeah.
It's absolutely superb. Now you've travelled all over Ireland and the UK, playing and performing your music and entertaining over the years.
Well, I have. I've been lucky there. Now we've been to Spain and Portugal to the festivals, and we've been to America to festivals and back to the West Coast and all that, without any great fuss I might have, because I wouldn't be very well known in these places, but we'd have our own little niche, and it worked exceptionally well. And I always I loved going to England especially, because I met an awful lot of people from home that I knew, and yes, people I thought I mightn't see again, and they'd always stroll in, and it was one of the highlights for me now, meeting people from home.
Indeed.
Always, yeah.
Indeed. Yes, there's quite a lot.
That's not the case. Sorry, Jerry, that's not the case as much anymore, because people haven't been immigrating since the late 70s and the early 80s, and most of the people, when you go over to England now, most of the people they're pushing on a little bit, and they're not coming out as much as they used to. So it had been great there in the 80s and 90s. It was brilliant.
Indeed so.
That's what I found. And I used to say, and God be good to the woman, she has passed away, I'd like to pay a tribute to Mary O'Hara. She was a great listener to your programme.
Indeed.
And we used to stay in her house, Seamus Shannon and Johnny Parker and myself and Dick and Ainger and people like that. She was always very, very good to us, and she loved the music as well. And we kept up the friendship, because she used to ring me and talk to me about songs and this and that, and I'd send her my songs when they'd come out. But she did pass away recently, and most of the music people knew Mary. I think you knew her yourself. Did you?
Did indeed, very well. Yes. Knew her for many years.
Yeah, she'd be very well known, because she used to play herself with different groups and bands, and the woman will be sadly missed. And I'd like just to offer my condolences to her family. But I've spoken to them since the funeral, of course. She was a Cavan woman, and look, your life goes on.
Indeed so. You're actually doing keeping your presence out there. You're actually see you've got a video up from a couple of days ago on Facebook where you're singing the West Clare coast.
Well, that's right. No, I only did that yesterday, and I gave it to John Burke in the Armada. He was doing a little bit of promotion for the west of Ireland and in County Clare in particular. He just rang me to know if I had any song that would fit in. And I have oceans of Clare songs.
Yes.
So I went with that one, and I hope it'll be all right. I just did it live once off. So I did it under a bush at home. So I hope it'll be okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine, PJ. It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
It's
pretty grand, yeah.
Yes, perfectly natural. It's rather interesting times in that people all around the world connecting up via the IT, be it on Facebook or talking via Zoom and all the rest of it.
Well, that's a huge thing for people who are at home, because it's okay for people like me that, would be out and be busy maybe around the fields and seeing nobody. But if you're living or staying at home and you're more or less locked in, well, it's great to be able to get all these messages and, these songs from different people whom you like. And they're all doing it and it's really, it makes a huge difference to people who are at home and cannot go out at the moment.
Indeed so.
And I think it's a great thing, for people. Michael English, Johnny McAvoy, the whole lot of them are doing it. And Johnny Parker keeps me informed as to who's doing it and why I'm not doing it and so on. So,
yes.
Look at, Johnny, of course.
I do indeed, yes. Know Johnny well.
Yeah, Johnny, a great man. Johnny used to give us great help around England when we were touring, myself and Seamus Shannon. He knew all the venues and he put us in everywhere, and we used to stay in his house and all that. And we always had great fun, And even though the journeys used to be long, like for instance, leaving the Galtymore and hitting for Manchester or Rochdale now, they were long enough journeys and all that. But with Johnny, you'd never feel the road. We'd be singing and making up songs and telling stories. And Johnny had a lot to tell, He's
Indeed.
Been around a while like myself, and he's a great man, Johnny. I hope he's listening.
Indeed.
He usually is.
Yes, indeed. Johnny is a gentleman that all the musicians and singers and everybody knows again.
They do, of course. They all know Johnny.
Yeah, lovely guy indeed. PJ, listen, it's been lovely to catch up with you, lovely to chat to you, and I wish you continued success, and hopefully we can meet up when all of this is over and you're back over visiting the UK.
Well, of course. The time is going so fast, even though people are at home. Strangely enough, like they said, the hours drag by and the years fly. But, people who are at home and they think the time is long, yet we're making for June already, the longest days next month,
Indeed.
All of a sudden.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But, Jerry, I want to thank you sincerely for all the airplay and giving me this interview and all that, because people like us, the more exposure we get for our songs, the better it is. And there are always people listening. You'd always get new listeners. And funny thing, I've been delighted with the amount of English people and Scottish people who write to me for songs, and I send albums to people. The last man I spoke to was an Englishman from Surrey. He lived in a caravan, and he was mad about the soldier on the pig, and we sent it to him and all that. And it's all coming from people like you and listening on your radio station, and we owe you a lot deep down. And if you were off the air, no more than the business when it has calmed down, we only miss it when it stopped. But if people like you stopped, we would certainly miss you a lot. And thank you very much,
PJ.
Jerry, for everything.
Thank you indeed. It's a real pleasure. And PJ, hopefully we'll meet up again soon. And as they say, stay safe and well.
Well, indeed. And thanks very, very much, Jerry. And good afternoon.